I am blind tasting with Vanessa Conlin. She is the head of wine for Wine Access. She is a Master of Wine candidate who is in the final review process, or final review stage, and has already passed her exam and is just waiting to hear back about the research paper. And what else? Oh, she was a former opera singer. So she's got an arts background, which is really cool, and just a really fun person who I enjoy tasting wine and hanging out with.
So I'm blind tasting today with Amanda McCrossin. She is the wine director for a restaurant called Press here in Napa Valley. She's an amazing ambassador for the wine industry. She's incredibly knowledgeable, but incredibly humble as well, and just has really a knack for presenting things in a way that's very educational, but very accessible. I mean, I think what she's done at Press is amazing. They have probably the deepest list of old Napa Cab of anybody, anywhere, and she blows my mind. I mean, I've tasted, a skosh of the older Napa Cab that she has, so I love tasting with her because I always learn a lot. So it's gonna be fun.
For the white, I picked one of my favorite California Chardonnays. It's got a great story and something that I kind of fell in love with upon first tasting. This is the Edge Hill Chardonnay from Bacigalupi Vineyard in Russian River Valley. It's 2012. And the really cool story about this is this particular wine sources the grapes from the vines that are the oldest vines in the Bacigalupi Vineyard, which are also the same as what was used in the Chateau Montelena for the Judgment of Paris. So a lot of history there. Really, really beautiful wine that I think is gonna show more Burgundian than Californian. That said, it definitely has a ripeness to it, but I think I've blind tasted a few people on this wine, and I think mostly across the board, they've all blinded Burgundy. So we shall see. Yes! Oh, this nose. There's definitely some richness and opulence, but it is flinty, and it is bright, and it's like lemon. She's a pretty good blind taster for Chardonnay, so we'll see how she fares. Okay, the red. I'm so excited. Wine nerd moment, for sure. This is a 1977 Joseph Phelps Islay Vineyard. This is a fairly prolific wine in my career. The 1978 was the wine that I served to one of my favorite guests at the restaurant. I still remember the night, I remember the table, I remember what we were doing, why we picked it, and it was the first time I had tried it, and it blew my mind. And it was the first time I recognized Islay Vineyard for my own palate as truly being an incredible Grand Cru vineyard of California. These particular wines come from a single vineyard in Calistoga. The vineyard itself has been in production since the 1800s, but the vines are about 15 years old in this bottle here. They're planted in the early 60s. Look at it. Oh, cool. Oh, can I? Yes, fuck yes. Sorry. My mom's gonna kill me. Oh, fuck yes, that is so unbelievably aromatic. Oh, wow. Wow. As much as it's giving you, it's also you kind of leaning into it, which is a really, really cool wine to me. Wow. That is so dense and rich. Incredibly soft, fine tannins. The 78 shows a little bit more of that perfume, but this shows an intensity and a depth and a finish. Wow, this is gonna be really cool. Yay!
Hi.
Hello. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Yes.
As I will ever be.
We're just gonna taste wine. It's gonna be fun.
Okay. All right. So, any words of wisdom before we start, or just?
I mean, you've already passed like the hardest tasting exam there is anyways, so this is a walk in the park.
Let's go with that.
Feel like.
Okay. All righty.
Just you and me, we're just gonna taste some wine.
Okay. No, this is fun.
I can confirm that they are in fact wines.
Okay, perfect.
So we'll start there.
Sounds
and I think you can take it from there to differentiate between the two colors. So we'll start with the what appears to be white wine.
What appears to be the white wine.
Yeah.
Okay. No, this is fun. I
Great.
love blind tasting. It's like a puzzle. So,
Okay.
all right. Well, and so kind of the first thing I noticed about this is, well, I mean, I looked at the color, it's slightly golden. Mm-hmm. So I would think like maybe it has a little bit of age on it, or possibly some time in barrel.
Okay.
But then on the nose, it seems to be like fairly, I would say like semi-neutral, where I'm getting more sort of like winemaking, secondary and tertiary over like super primary. I do get like some apple, some citrus, some like kind of Meyer lemon peel, but I'm definitely getting like that toasty oak character, and some of that sort of sweet spice, like clove, nutmeg, vanilla.
Yeah.
I mean, the one variety that I feel like takes on winemaking this elegantly but expressively would be Chardonnay, is my initial thought, but I haven't tasted it yet. So,
Okay. Let's taste the wine.
okay.
Let me taste it with you. To me, blind tasting, in addition to like maybe going through whatever your version of the grid is also like about the feeling and the experience. And I mean, there's no panel in front of us,
Yeah.
so we can just kind of like walk our way through this. And
I love it.
do you like it?
I do.
Do you like the wine?
I would drink the out of that. Yes, it's delicious.
Yeah. I already dropped the F-bomb earlier, so you can,
perfect.
you can continue with that if you like.
What is this rated? No, it's delicious. So I think I'm sticking with my initial thought, which is this like, to me, this like speaks of Chardonnay.
Cool.
So if I was tasting this on the exam or just for funsies, I would try to sort of consider all the places it could be from and then try to sort of knock them out one by one. So start with like a large funnel and then get smaller and smaller. So try to like bring the world a step closer or smaller with each step. So, I mean, starting broadly, I mean, it could be, obviously it could be California, could be Oregon, could be obviously Burgundy. We could think about, you know, Australia, New Zealand, Chile, South Africa even. But I'd say like, for me, there's a textural component to Chilean wines. And again, these are my personal markers, but there's like a slickness of texture that I'm not getting on this. It has a good amount of richness to it, but also like really refreshing acidity. So, I mean, could be Margaret River, but I don't know, there's something about the core of this wine that to me doesn't speak to Australia. Again, there's sort of like a textural difference to it that isn't speaking to me of Australia.
And you and I have been drinking
a lot of Australian
wines lately.
Yeah, there's sort of like a more, what I find like in high quality, you know, Australian, of which there is a lot, as we're learning every day. But there's sort of more like a linear mouthfeel than on this, where I'm getting again that sort of like rounder mid palate core. So, and then I'm going to knock New Zealand out, I think, because I always get like a juicier acid profile to
like a
to New
bouncier
Zealand.
fruit,
Yeah, there's like with New Zealand I usually get like and again I'm speaking very broadly, like it's obviously there's a lot of regions within the country, but like this like super pure fruit, almost like squeaky clean fruit character, and then this just like really zingy acidity, and this has really refreshing acidity, but it seems more like mouth-watering and round. So let me taste it again.
You did mention Burgundy, so what would take you in or out of Burgundy?
Well, the quality's high, first of all.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something to like, I mean, obviously we can talk about like minerality of the old world, but I mean, I feel like sometimes that's not a fair comparison because I definitely get minerality on New World wines as well.
For sure.
But sort of like with Burgundy, I get more of like a savory, I almost think of it as like sort of like a dried flower note to it over sort of like fresher blooming flowers. and I haven't quite narrowed this down yet, so I'm gonna taste it again. What are you? I'm kind of torn between like a riper vintage Burgundy or like a Burgundian look-alike. Because again, it has that acid, but there's something about the texture, again, that like there's a stuffing. Again, this is just like my terminology, but there's something like when I taste Chardonnay from California, huge generalization, right? But there's like this stuffing to the core.
Oh, I like that.
That I find in when I taste Burgundy, even from a ripe year, there's like a lacier sort of texture. I don't know, it just like sits on my palate differently. So again, I'm kind of torn because it's very like, it's really beautifully made. It's high quality. I feel like it could be either.
Okay. But you have to pick one.
But I have to pick, okay. So I think then there's a bit of, even in a riper vintage for Burgundy, I still get that sort of like restraint, for lack of a better word. And this has a little bit more of like a forward fruit character to it, which would take me to California. So then I'd be considering different regions within. Is it Sonoma? Is it Napa? Again, like it's just my personal marker, but there's something about like the core of this fruit has that really like dense sort of beautiful Napa ripeness, but then still some acidity. So I would probably consider, you know, Sonoma Coast, Russian River, Carneros. I think it's a little bit too ripe for Carneros. So let's say Napa.
Ooh, all right.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make that face.
Oh, either that was like good or like really, really
No,
bad.
I thought for sure you were gonna like stick in Sonoma because you were like either Russian River or Carneros, and then you were like Napa. And
There's
I was like,
something
whoa.
about the like again like the sort of richness, whereas I get sometimes a little bit more acidity, especially on the coast, like a different texture. But there's like a really like beautiful lushness to this that makes me think further inland.
Okay, so Chardonnay, Napa Valley,
Yes,
vintage.
it's still really fresh, but it definitely has a little bit of tertiary notes coming in. I'd say, man, I don't know specific vintage, but maybe within like 5 to 7 years of age.
I think that's
Because it's still like it has that beautiful like freshness and purity to
Yeah.
it, but you know what I mean? It's starting to take on a little bit more of those like
yeah. And
Yeah,
sometimes
okay.
it's harder for me to differentiate between where age is the primary factor versus maybe something like oak treatment.
yeah.
So give me a vintage, and you're sticking with.
What did I say? 5 to 7 years? Now I have to
7
do
years.
math. Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
You've had coffee. You're fine.
I'm a wine person. I'm not that person. Okay. I think it's like 2013-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. 2013 Napa Valley Chardonnay.
Yes.
Great. I'm not telling you yet. We're
Okay.
going to the red.
Okay.
So we'll table the white.
Okay.
And move to the red. And I will say I'm actually selfishly very excited to try this, but I'm also really excited for you to try this as well. And I'm very curious to hear what you think about this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm intrigued already. This has a lot of tertiary notes on it. And color tells me it's more mature. It's starting to get more sort of faded from ruby more to amber. And does have some like bricking at the rim. It's like really fascinating.
This nose like crushes me in so many ways.
I get pyrazines. So I'm thinking a Bordeaux variety or varieties. So where are you from, mister?
It's a boy.
I guess it could. It does seem kind of masculine to be honest, but
Okay. No, I think
that's not very PC.
Well, I actually think that's like for me, those are markers, right? When I assign masculine, feminine in a very broad sense, those are markers for me.
It's like super, it's both has this like beautiful sort of like forest floor, like sort of mossy, like tree bark, like older tertiary, like church basement kind of notes to it. But then there's like a very vibrant, like black fruit, black cherry, black currant note to it as well.
Bingo.
So.
You just got my seal of approval. So.
Okay.
You're doing great.
All right, let's taste it. Like really fresh acid. Definitely more mature, but does have that like that black fruit note to it. So the fruit hasn't faded. Like it still seems like it has a lot of life. I guess I'd be thinking older Bordeaux or older Napa.
Because you're in.
Because I'm definitely in like a Bordeaux camp, Bordeaux variety or varieties.
Okay.
Okay, so I should figure out what this is.
Yes.
So, I mean, I could funnel within regions in Bordeaux, but there's something about like there's a bit of a sweeter fruit core to this that would take me to the New World.
Okay.
Again, not sweet, but like there's a sort of a riper element to it. Again, like super high quality. I want to like drink the shit out of this. But
are you in a particular vintage, decade, how much age?
I feel like this is like at least like 1980s, maybe.
Okay. How much, and I don't know this about you, how much older Bordeaux versus older California have you had? Like, what is the ratio?
I'm sure you've had way more because of your amazing list than I have. So, like, I definitely, when I was sitting the exam, it tasted a lot of different vintages side by side for that. But then, you know, for the exam, it has to be a wine that you can still find commercially.
Okay.
So, realistically, throwing something on from like, you know, the early 70s or something is not going to make it on the exam. So I did taste a lot of vintages, but definitely I have not had as much experience with you with like older Napa.
Okay. And are you for sure in Cabernet land?
I am for sure in Cabernet land.
Okay.
I think it's got that, the acidity, you know, to it with Merlot. If it was like a Bordeaux blend with some Merlot in it, I definitely would. I get sort of a broader, like a breadth of palate with Merlot. I mean, I guess there could be a sprinkle in here, but I'm definitely getting like Cab dominant. And again, that just sort of like really firm tannic backbone, and all that like great like blackcurrant fruit. So I am in Cab dominant for sure. So I'm not going to say I can differentiate the latter vintages of this, of the 70s.
Let's get it into a 5-year bracket.
Okay.
So like.
Well, then I would go like later, if it's 70s, because it's still really. It's just there's a really fresh youthfulness about it that like, I mean, honestly, like. That's even surprising to me. Not that we don't taste beautiful wines, you know, older Napa, but this is like. This is an outstanding wine. Yeah. It's really, really holding up.
Yeah, so. And I've tasted much younger wines that are not doing as well as this wine is.
Yeah.
So give me one final conclusion and then I'll tell you.
Okay. Let's go.
I want the whole like. I want variety. I want.
Okay, I'm going Cabernet Sauvignon.
Okay.
I'm going Napa Valley.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with sort of your guidance, late 70s. Again, I can't differentiate, so I'm throwing a dart, but let's just say like 1979.
Okay. Final conclusion.
Okay.
Who's there?
Final conclusion.
All right. How do you think you did?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I feel like we might be in Bordeaux, actually. But I don't know.
Well, it's too late. You already threw it down.
No, but it did have that riper fruit core that I get from New World over Bordeaux.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really beautiful wine. I kind of can't wait to hear what it is.
I was gonna say, are you ready? All right. Well, we'll start with the white.
Okay.
And I think you'd I mean, you did brilliantly with both of these wines.
Okay.
No one is surprised because you're a brilliant taster. But I think they're probably two wines that you've not had before, which is also why I chose them. And I selfishly chose them because I love both of these wines.
Okay.
So the Chardonnay, it was a Chardonnay.
Okay,
So
I felt pretty good about that,
like
yes.
It was like given. So the Chardonnay is 2012.
Oh.
Edge Hill, Bacigalupi, Russian River Chardonnay.
Yes.
So have you had this?
No.
Okay, cool. So can I tell you about it?
Please.
Okay, so this is
Shoot, I considered Russian River, but I didn't.
well, I mean, truthfully, this is like a slightly unfair wine in some ways because this is very, very old vines.
Yeah.
This Edge Hill had the long lease on the oldest vines of the Bacigalupi vineyard in Russian River, which were the same vines used in the Chateau Montchelin Chardonnay for the Judgment of Paris.
Okay.
So it makes this one extra special.
Gotcha.
I think this wine in its youth has an incredible flintiness and reductiveness that as it ages, it sort of starts to take on, it starts to dissipate a little bit.
Yeah.
But to me, there has always been a certain, and I hate to say this, but like a certain Burgundian-esque quality to it.
Yeah, that's why I was
when you were
kind of wavering between the two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that was a really fair assessment. I think to your point, the stuffing of this wine is there, and there is a ripeness. And I think having tasted producers like Kongsgaard that make very, very high quality Chardonnays from the Napa Valley, I think that was a really fair assessment as well. And especially if you're tasting something like Judge Vineyard, which is a little bit older vine on some like rocky soils. So like, again, I think that was a fair call for you.
Okay.
And you did really well. And
it's delicious.
it's really good, right?
Yes. Okay. This one, I'm like.
I know. This one, okay, so this one was like I didn't think that I would get this wine. And I had reached out to Antoine at Isley and said, I'd really love to blind you on Isley.
Oh, okay.
So it's 1977. So well done.
Was 70s, okay.
Joseph Phelps, Isley Vineyard.
Wow.
Yeah. Have you ever had this?
No.
Ah, I love it. It's awesome.
No, I haven't.
So again, another selfish pick.
Hey, it's not selfish. I got to taste that.
Yes. Yeah. I guess I'm on the hot seat next, right?
You are in the hot seat.
Yes. I'm really excited to see what you brought.
No tricks, just really
Cool.
wines that I'm excited to share
We're
with
just
you.
gonna drink wine.
Yeah, we're just gonna drink wine.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, so because Amanda's list is predominantly Napa or all Napa, I thought we'd taste some old world stuff just to keep her on her toes. So I didn't choose anything that would, trick her. I think these are pretty classic representations of the variety in the region, but I chose 2017 Gigal Conjou La Dorian. So this is Viognier, and I was at the property earlier this year and I tasted this in the cellar, it blew me away. I think that if she were to confuse it with anything, maybe Chardonnay. It does see 100% new French oak, which is sort of unusual for Conjou, but Gigal, they have their own cooperage, and so they're able to really control the toast levels. But that might throw her, but I do think it's pretty classic, so I think she'll probably nail it. So, again, because Amanda's list is so deep with Napa, at Press, I thought it would be fun to taste some Old World. So I chose the 2010 Chateau L'Evangile. This is Pomerol. This is a vintage I really like. 09 and 10 were two great vintages. 09 tends to be sort of more open and forward, new worldy. 10 is my preference between the two. I find it more classic. I think it'll be fun to taste with her, and the pedigree is amazing. It's neighbors with Cheval Blanc and Petrus. And planted to 80% Merlot and 20% Cabernet Franc, and I can't wait to try this with her. Yep, it's gonna be fun. Okay.
All right.
I feel like it's easier being on this side.
Yes, I would agree.
So,
because sitting in the hot seat, it's very hot.
Yes. But definitely not trying to trick you or anything like that. So just fun wines that I think will be enjoyable to talk about.
Cool.
So.
All right. Let's go.
All right.
I'm very excited, actually. You always pick great wines, so
Thank you.
I'm not. I think if anything, they'll be delicious.
Well,
even if I don't know.
Okay. And there was a method to my madness today, so it'll be fun to discuss.
Well,
okay.
This is wildly aromatic.
Yes.
So thank you.
Yes,
the worst is when you stick your nose in a glass and it's like, I'm not getting anything.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
no, this is jumping out of the glass with intensity. Tons of flowers. And all different kinds, everything from honeysuckle to acacia. Really kind of perfumed, maybe even like a little bit of like a clementine, mandarin, something more citrus. Wines that are this aromatic, definitely I gravitate towards, things like Pinot Blanc, Gewürztraminer, Viognier. Definitely doesn't smell like the 2012 Bacci Galuppi Chardonnay that we just had, so I think we can like rule that out.
Yes, let's take that one wine off the table, but everything else is very
But I am getting like a little bit of ripeness, and in some of those fruits, I'm getting like an intensity of fruit.
Like a forward fruit character?
Yeah. No evidence of oak that I can tell. I'm not getting a ton of like vanilla or clove, cinnamon, cardamom. I'm not getting a ton of like minerality, whatever that means.
So primarily fruit driven. Are you getting like anything tertiary? You feel like this is a pretty youthful wine?
Pretty fruit flower wine. I really like wines like this. I think we've talked about, I'm a sucker for an aromatic white.
Yes.
And I think I had a Godeo.
Yes.
That was featured on Wine Access. That was not as aromatic as this is, but jumped out of the glass, and I was like, yes, this is everything I want. So I love whites like these. And just kind of closely, just looking briefly at the color of this wine, definitely has some like golden hues to it, but it's fading towards clear, towards the rim, so a little bit of greenness. I don't know if that's coming from these really beautiful lights that are on our face right now, but I think I think it's a white wine, and that's where I'll stand. Okay. Yeah.
Well done so far.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
But it smells great. I'm really excited to try it. Tons of viscosity. Like, coats your mouth, really rich. But there is some acidity there. It's maybe a little bit masked by how much unctuousness there is. And I don't get any residual sugar, but I definitely get like a richness from this wine. It's starting to dive into something more savory than it is into some of those more like honeysuckle, acacia, peachy flavors. Yeah. And there is this sort of, sort of savory thing that I'm getting on this.
I feel like the acidity is, to your point, it's sort of like, it like creeps up on you. It's not that kind of acid where it's just like jagged or immediately your mouth is watering, because it is kind of enveloped in this sort of rounder palate feel, but.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we're still maybe in like, I don't think it's Gewürz. I don't think it's bright enough or light enough to be Gewürz. Could still be like a Pinot Blanc, because it definitely has that unctuousness. Could definitely be Viognier.
You leaning like...
I don't know if I'm New World or Old World.
Okay.
I'd say the alcohol seems pretty moderate. I don't get a burn. I mean, there's viscosity, but I think that viscosity is maybe coming more from the varietal than from climate or from style. Still not getting any sort of sense of new French oak. Maybe a little bit of like neutral barrel, maybe some concrete. I don't know. I think when it comes to blind tasting, I don't pay enough attention to, and I don't give enough credit to when a personal preference is involved. And so when I'm tasting a wine and I really like it, or I want to go back to it, or I'm starting to think about what foods I want with it, I think there's a lot you can tell from a wine by kind of involving
Whether you particularly
yeah,
gravitate for it?
whether or not I actually really like it,
Okay.
and I really like this wine. And so there's a few varieties that I naturally gravitate towards.
Yeah.
There's a few varieties that I almost categorically don't like.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to like aromatic whites, i.e. Pinot Blancs, Gewurz, Viogniers. I've always loved Viognier, and I'm definitely leaning towards some sort of Viognier based on, the intense aromatics that I'm getting out of this wine, the viscosity, the acid's there, but it's not overwhelming. And I still don't know whether I'm in New World or Old World because I have had a ton of really great California and Oregon Viogniers that have kind of blown my mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
do I have to dive?
yes.
Okay. Okay. I think it's Viognier.
Okay. New World or Old World?
I keep thinking about the Cristom Viognier that I've had from Oregon.
Yeah.
And I mean, I haven't had, a wide array of like Condrieu, Northern Rhone Viogniers.
Okay.
Man, one more sip. Okay.
Okay.
It's too savory and it finishes too clean.
Meaning?
Old World.
Okay. Because of the savoriness. Okay. So final assessment was Viognier.
Viognier. I'm going to give you Northern Rhone. I'm not going to give you more specific than that.
And then 3 to 5 years of age.
Probably Condrieu, but 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you feel this good after your first wine?
No.
Oh.
I felt terrible.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Red.
Okay.
It's a red wine. The color is fairly opaque. Not a ton of rim variation, a little bit, indicating a little bit of age. Very, very garnet in color. Moderate viscosity. Whoa.
Whoa, in a good way?
Whoa, in a good way. No, I mean, like we just went from a 77 to something that's definitely newer.
Yeah.
But ripe. I'm not getting any like pyrazine.
Okay.
No greenness. I'm getting just tons and tons of stewed fruits.
Okay.
I think that tells me a few things. One, this wine is not terribly old. It hasn't really migrated into secondary and tertiaries. I think it definitely tells me I've got a little bit of red fruit, a lot of red fruit, maybe a touch of black fruit, definitely more stewed. Currants, plums, prunes, things like that. I'm in Bordeaux varieties.
Okay.
But this is ripe, so I don't know. Would you give me a California wine?
Would I?
I don't know.
Let's find out.
Blind the Napa girl on the Napa wine. That's pretty. That's really pretty. Rich. Acidity is moderate. Ripeness is there for sure. All of those stewed fruits, that plummy, pruny thing, definitely continuing. I'm getting a tiny burn.
Okay.
I don't think it's an out of balance. I just think that it's something that I'm more aware of. And so I'm leaning towards a warmer climate.
Okay. Do you have a variety in mind or a variety?
Well, here's the thing. So I'm calling prunes and plums, right? Which Merlot, right? but I'm also getting a lot of different things in here. And so maybe it's a blend. It could be a couple different things.
Okay.
I think there's maybe some Cabernet in here.
Okay. So are you leaning New World, Old World?
I think I'm leaning New World.
Okay.
It's pretty ripe. The tannins are super soft. I mean, they're there, but it's round, it's plushy, it feels like this, not like this. Finish is very long. I'm gonna call Merlot blend.
Okay.
I think this is fairly, I'm getting like a touch of tertiary, but like fairly new, so I'm gonna call like
a range.
2012. It's a warmer-ish vintage.
So are you in Napa?
I'm in Napa.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, so final assessment. Merlot-based blend.
Merlot blend. I'm trying to think of like producer because who does a Merlot-based blend in Napa and this is pretty high quality. You know, like Heidi Barrett does the Amuse-Bouche, which is really good. Merlot dominant. I'm actually loving all of the, Arietta. You worked at Arietta.
I did.
Oh, scoundrel. I've had some like really great Merlot-based wines from Napa Valley that have had Bordeaux qualities that have sort of tricked me.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm gonna go 2012 Merlot blend.
Okay.
Napa Valley.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, shall we reveal?
I think you have to now.
Okay, first of all, I love tasting with you.
Me too.
Yes. So you were like,
yes.
spot on.
Wow, thanks.
I'm gonna drink the rest of this.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I come?
Yeah, I thought it'd be
Cool.
fun to taste with you because
cool.
you had mentioned we haven't actually tasted a Viognier together before,
No,
but
never.
I know we discussed it. And
Yeah.
I feel like whenever I'm with you, I'm always ordering like really high acid, like Chablis or something. And so I thought let's do something like off the beaten path. And I didn't want to trick you, but I was like not Napa. Like let's kind of
this was like for me. This was very very textbook.
Well, you call the like apricot peach, the texture,
Yeah.
that kind of acid that's like for me, like it feels like this,
It's
like it
kinda
comes on
stealthy,
after.
huh?
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
stealthy acid. Yeah.
Yeah. I loved that. I
Okay.
think that was. I love both of these wines actually. I would drink these on.
Okay, so
Any day with you.
I feel like you did really, really well on this wine too. It is Merlot based,
Oh my gosh.
but
Okay.
but Bordeaux,
All right. 2010.
but you were like
Okay.
no, you were right there because
Okay.
I mean you called Merlot, you got like the plums,
Yeah. Wow.
and I think though like.
Okay.
To your point, like 10, like not quite as ripe as 9 in Bordeaux, but still like a riper vintage, and of course it's right bank. So
Right. This is really delicious, and I still like even going back to now knowing that it's L'Evangile. It's I don't know. It still kind of like feels kind of New World, although the lines are so blurred anymore that like. I don't know. I have a really tough time differentiating between the two.
I completely see where you got that, and it has that sort of really fine grained, like pixelated tannins of Bordeaux, but they're super supple, more so than I get a lot of times from Pomerol. So awesome!
All right. Well, we have 4 wines to kind of like
crush
over the next few hours.
You're
You're not doing anything, right?
I'm canceling my plans.
Good. That was super fun. Thank you for choosing these wines.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's really rare that I get to taste something that old from Napa, so thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. Yeah, what a fun treat.
Yes, educational. Great, thanks. Great.